You're not stuck. You're afraid to change. What if you're not actually stuck? What if the reason your life hasn't changed isn't because you don't have opportunities, talent, or potential? What if you're simply afraid of what might happen if you actually change? Think about it. You complain about your job, but you're afraid to leave. You want a better relationship, but you're afraid of being alone. You want to start something new, but you're afraid you'll fail. You say you want a different life, but the familiar one feels safer. So and you call it being stuck. But sometimes, being stuck is actually a form of protection. Your mind knows the current situation even if it's uncomfortable. Change introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty creates questions. What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I make the wrong decision? What if I lose what I already have? So instead of facing those questions, you stay where you are. And strangely enough, staying can feel safer than moving forward. Imagine someone who has wanted to start a business for 5 years. They have watched videos, read books, made plans, talked about ideas, but they never actually begin. Why? Maybe they don't lack knowledge. Maybe they're afraid that once they try, they'll discover that they aren't as capable as they imagined. So they keep preparing, because preparation feels productive. But sometimes, preparation becomes a sophisticated form of avoidance. Psychologist Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy showed that people's beliefs about their ability to handle challenges are connected to how much effort they invest and how persistent they are when difficulties appear. And here's the uncomfortable part. You may be waiting to feel confident before you act. But confidence often grows through experience. You take the first step. You survive the discomfort. You learn something. You try again. Slowly, your brain receives evidence. I can handle this. That's how change begins. Not when fear disappears, but when fear stops making your decisions. So ask yourself honestly,
what have I been calling being stuck that might actually be fear? Is it fear of failure? Fear of rejection? Fear of uncertainty? Fear of disappointing people? Or maybe even fear of succeeding and having to become a different person? Because sometimes the life you're dreaming about requires you to give up the identity you've become comfortable with. And that's difficult. But here's the truth. You don't need to be fearless to change your life. You need to become willing to be uncomfortable. Take the application. Start the course. Have the conversation. Leave the unhealthy pattern. Make the first attempt. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Because one day, you may discover that the biggest obstacle wasn't the locked door in front of you. It was your fear of turning the handle. You're not necessarily stuck. Maybe you're standing at the edge of change, waiting for fear to disappear. It won't. So move anyway. Your next chapter may be waiting on the other side of one uncomfortable desert.